My name is Nathan. I have a sibling whose name used to be Connor, but isn't anymore. Hopefully, this game is yet another reason that the name Nathan is better than the name Connor. Avs versus Blackhawks. Let's start the show. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche pregame show presented by Bet365 and Coors Light. Actually, Bet365 is only our bets. My bad. Coors Light, shout out to you. Avs taking on the Blackhawks, as I mentioned. It's kind of a game set up to be not very good. Avs obviously on the SEGABABA. The Blackhawks, this is their 3rd and 4. So, expecting some tired legs, to say the least.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be Georgiev versus Mrazek. So, expecting some not great goaltending, to say the least.
Or you're hoping for good goaltending, you know.
And you can always hope.
Yeah, you can always hope. Again, Cale Makar's going to be the best player on the planet. But yeah, 3 and 4, I always tell you all the time, I'm not worried about the SEGABABA. Again, that's as talking as a player. I feel you have the advantage. You do. You have the advantage when you played the night before. Now, things have to go your way, and I repeat it, things have to go your way, and then usually you'll carry through. Now, if things don't go your way, yeah, I mean, it could get south easily. But 3 and 4 is the toughest part for me, so that's what the Avs are going to face Wednesday. So I do believe that for the Blackhawks tonight, that is a tough task. You mix in with a little bit of altitude.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they had a lengthy practice this morning. I thought was like, oh, wow. You know, I understand they didn't practice yesterday, but I was like, I didn't want to be a player today. I'm like, man, there's a game tonight. You know what I mean? Like, the Avs obviously had an optional. They had no one out there except the 2 scratches, you know, that didn't play last game. And Eustace working with some UC Parkula, the goaltending coach, and then the 2 injured guys. So, other than that, that's what was going on this morning. But, yeah, I do anticipate maybe a little bit of sloppy hockey, and who knows? Maybe you took the over. I don't know.
Can we even say Lecky is injured at this point?
Looks pretty good to me.
I know he's not playing tonight, but the man refuses to put on the pumpkin jersey.
Yeah.
He's meeting with his doctor either today or tomorrow.
I think you're hours away from seeing him.
Yeah,
so,
he's got to be back
you know,
soon.
I think you're hours away from seeing him, so that's going to be so fun. And then what it does is, as you know, slots guys in the right spots, right? So, but hey, some guys have filled in very nicely up till now, so can't complain.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with what Colton and Middlestad have done for them in the top 6. So, I do want to take a look at some of the stats for today's game. Instead of going too much into the advanced stats, I had a little bit of fun with this one because I do think a lot of this game is about momentum a little bit for where these two teams are at. The Avs are on a 5-game winning streak. Chicago's on a 4-game losing streak. Don't let this be the game that swaps that around. Keep your winning streak going. Keep Chicago down at the bottom. The one thing that I do want to keep hammering on early in the season, the Avs continue to be one of the worst teams in the league on both ends of high danger chances. They're both failing to score effectively on theirs and giving up far too many goals on the ones they're giving up. You need to do a better job there. Chicago has done a very good job of finishing their chances, but much like the Avs, they're getting scored on a lot when it comes to the high dangers. So, Avs gotta be tight defensively again. You cannot give this Chicago team anything free. The top of that lineup, Bedard, Teravainen, Hall, they have some skill up there. The depth runs out pretty quick for them, but don't sleep on the top end of that team. Then the other one, already mentioned, Avs on a back-to-back. Chicago, their 3rd in 4 nights. But Chicago still winless against Central Division teams this year. This is their 5th game against the Central, and they've yet to win one. The Avs did beat Utah earlier, and that's their only Central Division game other than this one. Am I overthinking the momentum here, or is this a train the Avs got to keep rolling?
No, that's a train you got to keep rolling. Obviously, streaking at 4. No, streaking at 3. 4 was some. Last year we had a whole list. Remember, 4, 5,
I
6.
I wanted to say 5 is a wagon, but that might have been 6. I forget.
Anyway, so we're again. It's better than streaking the other way. You know what I mean? Like the Blackhawks. So, sure. Or like the Avs did at the start of the year. Yeah. Exactly. Not too long ago. So, yeah, I think momentum's key. Again, I'll say that compared to blackjack all the time. You just feel that you just can't lose sometimes. And even though you're not playing well, you'll get away with it. And I'm not saying that's been the Avs case. I do believe in those 5 wins. They've been the better team all 5 games. So I beg to differ. Anybody that wants to fight me on this, I'm ready. I'm excited tonight. I just had a little bit of a coffee and I'm got some caffeine in me.
Are you condoning violence right now?
Yes, I am condoning violence.
Just for this game?
Just for this game. I will go Rudo right now, live on TV.
I bet on me on that one.
No, I bet on you for sure.
I'm not winning any.
I bet on you. But anyway, yeah. No, you're right. Momentum's huge. And I think that if they can carry it over, obviously it's going to be one of those nights tonight because both teams seem to be, again, not seem, but by schedule, should be a little bit tired. But we'll see what happens.
All right. I mean, we will see what happens in about 25 minutes here. But before we get to that, you and Gizmo got together for morning skate, or I guess Chicago's morning skate, since the Avs didn't really have one. Yeah. But hockey in the Rockies still here and good to go. Let's see what you guys had to say this morning.
Gizmo and Biggie back with you for Hockey in the Rockies, the second of back-to-backs, and the Colorado Avalanche hosting the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. The Blackhawks would otherwise not be a story if it wasn't for the sensational play in his sophomore season of Connor Bedard. Even on a bad night, somehow this young man finds a way to get it done.
Absolutely, Giz, and you said it, the second of a back-to-back, better known as SEGABABA for all of us here at DNVR Avalanche. So, big one, first one this year, but you're right. Connor Bedard, talking to Darren Pang this morning, was saying he could have a bad night, and he ends up with 5 grade A scoring chances. So this is a guy we're going to have to keep an eye on. Not we, because we're not playing. No, thank God. But the Avalanche are going to keep an eye on. But, there's some veteran leadership in there with Patty Maroon that you're very familiar with. Nicky Foligno, Littleton Hawks product. Hey, Nicky. And, guys like Taylor Hall and TJ Brody on the back end. So there's some experience there. Don't kid yourself. They are on a long road trip. You saw what they did to the Avalanche last week, right? Bonding together. They went 0-1. They lost to Dallas, but they got 4 more games on the trip. They're going to be flying tonight because they don't want to go sideways, and then they could nitpick and then obviously direct their season the wrong way.
A dangerous hockey team, potentially, because there are some pieces there, and when they do click, and maybe it's on this road trip, look out for Chicago. That brings up a fair point when we switch it to the Avalanche. Georgiev will get the start in net tonight. Not throwing shade on him early on here, but he has not been up to par this season. We've seen Annan continue to play well, including last night. He won't get the start tonight because of the back-to-backs. How important is the defensive structure and the way those pairings are working for the Avs coming in tonight against a volatile team?
Absolutely, and you said it. Competition brings out the best out of people. Looks like Justus took it and ran with it. You got to raise your hat to Justus. Now it's up to Georgiev's turn, right? After we'll be very honest here, shaky start. The first 4 starts that he's had have not been the greatest, but now he's got to go ahead tonight and run with it. Now, if you're the defensive core for the Avalanche, you got to make sure that he sees pucks, especially early on. Let him feel it. Let's be fair to him. Let's make sure we don't give up grade A after grade A like they did at the start of the season.
Right,
It's not in the defense of Georgiev, but there was grade A after grade A. So now tonight, the decore's been outstanding. Tays, Makar, Manson, and Gerard were outstanding last game. The third pair is as solid as you could have in a National Hockey League with DeHaan and Malinsky. They've been awesome. Go read, if you want AJ. AJ talked about it this morning at length and all the metrics concerning that third pair. But tonight starts with those guys, but also, obviously, with the 12 forwards to make sure that they have 5-man units out there and to make sure that Georgiev sees pucks, feels pucks, and let him be on his way like Justus has the last 4 games.
Avalanche are gaining momentum and steam. They look good right now. Can they continue it tonight in a back-to-back? Of course, we'll be back with you on Wednesday for another Hockey in the Rockies. Schedule getting a little thick for the Avs. We'll see what they're made of. Puck drop is at 7 o'clock tonight. You can catch it on Altitude. Make sure you join us for the watch-along, as well as the pregame that starts at 6:30.
So you guys were talking about that goalie situation. Realistically, It has to be above a 900 for Georgiev tonight, right? It has to be.
I mean, you're hoping, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's, and that Breckenridge Brewery stat that we get like after each game there. It's funny how we added. Remember the last stat we said goalie save percentage, and it's 9 for 9. The goalie that's had the higher save percentage
Wins the game.
You know, and yes, last game was a little tight. It was like 867 to 862. But I do believe tonight, Georgiev gets below 900, then that's going to be a tough win for the Avalanche. I do wish him well. I'm not being negative at all. I'm being honest. I just want him to feel early in the game, feel some pucks, feel how, you know what I mean? Because it is a little, I don't care what people say. It's human nature to be a little bit nervous. He's a little gun shy. He has not done well. He has basically, I mean, the other guy started 4 games in a row. So I don't care what you want to call it, but he's lost his net. So
don't even look at Annunen. If you consider yourself a starting goaltender in the NHL and you play 6 games in a row with a sub 900 save percentage,
at some point,
it's not good enough.
Yeah. So I think it's a battle within himself tonight. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to that he comes out on top and to silence a little bit of the critics and let everything play itself out. But if he has a tough outing, yeah, I agree that it's going to just raise a little bit more conversations a little bit everywhere.
All right, let's move on to your 3 keys of the game. Obviously, goaltending always a key, but we tend to get 3 other ones in there.
Yeah, special teams and goalies we leave alone. But, you know, number 1, I went beware of the wounded dog. I mean, the Blackhawks are, boy, oh boy, you know, lost 4 in a row. They lost 5 out of 6. You know, listen, 0-1 so far on this road trip. We all know what a road trip can do to a team. You know, look at the Avs last week, and you know they got 4 more games on this trip, so it's a 5-gamer that can define their season. You know, after this trip, and you're gonna say, "Well, don't worry, they're not making the play." No, I understand that, but you never really want to be like completely out of it come November. I mean, it's a little sad when you see those things. So, you wish obviously the Hawks to turn things around, just not tonight. Number 2. Sorry, my notes and other. Yeah, dominate 5-on-5 play. The Avs need to get above water a little bit. They're still -2 right now on goal differential, and you want to be an elite team. Obviously, small sample still. It's only game 10, but obviously those first few games just kind of hurt them. It didn't. But
They're still recovering.
You're still recovering. But I mean, let's make sure we get above water tonight. Then expose their thin decor with the last change and
Seth Jones and a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I mean, you know, play below the goal line, execute on the rush. You got the last change. You got to be able to dominate 5-on-5 play tonight. There's no excuse at the end of the night when we look at you know, the advanced stats that they had a good game 5-on-5. I mean, you're hoping that that's the case, and they did that last year. Remember, I think Connor Bedard learned very quickly last year coming in this building, like, oh boy, this is what the NHL is all about. So making another game like that. Number 3, just be disciplined. Guys like Connor Bedard, they thrive on PP chances. Talking to Darren Pang this morning, he's like, you know, the kid can have a bad game, but then all of a sudden he's got 5 great A chances. And, you know, he uses the power play to do that. So don't give him life like that. Don't get sucked in with the Pat Maroons and, you know, Bertuzzis and, you know what I mean? Like guys like that. Let them sleep. Nicky Foligno, former Littleton Hawk.
They'll muck it up with you for sure.
Don't muck it up. I mean, they'll muck it up. Just don't be undisciplined.
They'll be a pest too.
Yeah. So make sure that you're disciplined also on face-offs, assignments. Don't just fall asleep because you played last night and your brain is not ready to rock. So discipline can be a lot of things. Like it's like don't retaliate, but discipline is also about knowing your assignments, knowing exactly what to do, knowing exactly who you're playing against. When you're a step ahead like that in a game, it usually helps, you know, the way that your game unfolds personally and as a team.
And look, the Avs were very disciplined against Ottawa the other night. Keep that up. There are going to be situations on a night like tonight where your legs are tired. Don't reach. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You know what's going to happen. We did get the chance to talk to our sister site CHGO with Mario to catch up on Chicago's side of things. Eric mentioned their kind of rough stretch they're in. Let's see what this game looks like from their perspective. Okay, we've got Mario Tirabassi from CHGO joining us to talk a little bit of Blackhawks. I know it's easy to just say Connor Bedard is awesome, but what else has been going on with this team so far this year?
Well, I mean, I think you're looking at a team that has a lot of expectations based off of what they did in the offseason and all the free agents that they brought in. And you're finding out that when you bring in 9 different guys to come and play together, it takes some time for those guys to find some chemistry. So, yeah, outside of Connor Bedard being really good with Teuvo Teravainen, and a lot of the guys are still trying to find their footing in the group and trying to find a way to play together as a team. And so far, 9 games into it, we've really only seen it in small doses. So it's been a little frustrating.
You mentioned Teuvo next to Bedard or around Bedard, depending on any given night, whether it's Taylor Hall up there too, and some other guys. When you look at that chemistry, how much of this is finding the right guys for Bedard and how much of this is finding the depth behind him to get this team going?
I think outside of the guys that they gave more than just a year or two to in free agency, guys like Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen, it's just about getting, Connor Bedard going this season, because the future of this team is outside of Connor Bedard and Alex Vlasic and to some extent Lucas Reichel. The future of this team is playing right now in Rockford, or they're playing in the CHL or in college. So this effort is to get those guys like Alex Vlasic and Connor Bedard, get them into better habits as they continue to grow as young players. And I think so far we've seen that this year. Vlasic has been playing really well. Connor Bedard's been growing as a leader of this team, and I think for that aspect of it, like, they're succeeding. But as far as like growing the culture of the team and being able to bring in some more wins, we haven't seen that yet. And I think that is leading to some of the frustrations for a lot of people that were coming in expecting maybe some more wins this season. But I would say, to be fair to the team, the effort this year, the way that they're playing in games, the way that they've been in pretty much every game except maybe one that I can think of, like, that's better than what we were seeing last year. So as far as that goes, like, that's an improvement, but still you want to see like more wins. You want to see, more rewards in the standings for the efforts that you're putting out.
At 2-6-1, I imagine it's hard to be happy with a start like that, as you were talking about, but how important is the winning record actually? Whether or not the fan expectation is there, does Chicago actually need to turn a corner a little bit this year, or are you realistically talking about those guys in Rockford getting here maybe at the end of the season or even next year?
Yeah, that's been an interesting conversation, because at the end of last season, in the end of the year media availability, Nick Foligno and Seth Jones notably were outspoken about, like, we can't go through a season like this again. Like, and they were kind of voices of, from the locker room, change that needed to happen. And Kyle Davidson on the same day kind of agreed, like, yeah, we can't have a season like we did that last season or 2 seasons before. So if you're going to back up that talk and back up the moves you made in the offseason, you want to see more wins, because that's what the messaging has been for the NHL team. For the long-term future, yeah, it's still all about the prospects, and it's still about developing a lot of these guys. And we've seen positive development from those players, and we're going to see a lot of them as we get towards the end of the season, towards the trade deadline into March and April. But I think if the optics for Kyle Davidson, the optics for the leadership group and veterans of this team, if you're saying we need better players, we need more experienced guys, we need to win more games, then you got to go out and do it, because now you're going to start getting the fan base a little itchy when you start saying you want to accomplish these things, and then if you're not doing it, then you get people saying, like, you got to fire Luke Richardson, you got to fire Kyle Davidson, this team needs to be dismantled, like all this stuff. So they set themselves up for some higher expectations. Now it's about actually meeting them.
If it makes you feel better, we get fans telling us they need to fire Jared Bednar every single day, even when the Avs are good.
Oh,
so
sure.
That doesn't go away. But you talked about how this team has been competitive in most of their games. What's the weakness? What do they need to improve to get over that hump a little bit?
It's consistency. It is the consistent effort of a team that needs to know that they're not as They're not as skilled as they want to be. I think the messaging for this team has been play simple, play north and south, be able to sustain zone time by not just trying to create things off the rush and get one and done efforts offensively. You have to be able to, set up an offense. You have to be able to, get traffic in front of the net and try and shoot and with a screen or a deflection or a rebound. The simple things that we see, in the postseason, all these teams that put up 100 points in a season with all these, highly skilled elite level guys, when you get to the postseason, they simplify things because that's what you have to do to try and win in those types of tight games. And so far, this team, for small periods of time in select games, have played that way. We saw it most recently in the game against Dallas. They are down 3-0 going into the third period, and they just simplify their game and they make it 3-2. So I mean, it's I think something that I wonder about this team and want to see if they can change about it is thinking like you're not special. Like you need to simplify things. Like even though you are better on paper, you have better players than you did last year, this team still isn't reminiscent of the 2010s Blackhawks where every line was skilled, every line was dangerous. Like that's not what this team is. Even if there's guys that are skilled like a Taylor Hall, Teuvo Teravainen, and Connor Bedard, like you still have to play super simple to make things effective.
I got a couple more questions for you here. One, if you guys could go ahead and continue your losing streak against Central Division teams, we would appreciate that a lot. But two, Peter Mrazek, his numbers have not been fantastic this year. The age-old question, do you need a better goaltending work, or is this your defense letting your goalie down?
I mean, there have been times where Mrazek has made saves that have kept them in games. Like he had a huge save against Dallas that was spectacular. I think he's kind of been put into an odd situation because you go into the year, they sign Laurent Brossoit, right? You think that they're gonna 50-50 split the time between Brossoit and Mrazek. And then Brossoit gets injured, needs surgery. He's gonna miss the start of the season. So he's been around, but he hasn't been in a full practice yet at all. So Peter Mrazek has been shouldering the workload, and Arvid Soderblom has been okay in the 2 games that he's played, but he's also he was sick, so he wasn't available to play the back-to-back. So I think there's been a lot of work on Mrazek to start the season that maybe he wasn't expecting. And last season he was playing really, maybe the best season he's had physically and, statistically given what he was playing behind. But I think, it's part of that rhythm of the season. I'm not necessarily worried about it, but his workload early on is like, it's a lot. And I think it's more than the team and he was expecting to start the year. So if Laurent Brossoit can get healthy, that can maybe give him a couple of extra nights off that he didn't see last season and hasn't seen so far to start the year.
All right. So maybe a positive path forward there. The other thing has been a question in Chicago for at least over a year. What's the path forward for Lukas Reichel?
Well, it was really murky to start the year because he came into to training camp and preseason with a lot of expectations and a lot of opportunity to take a significant role in the lineup. And what we saw through training camp, the preseason, was same old Lukas Reichel that we were seeing all last year that made us, pull our hair out because we know that he has more skill than he was showing. And, we've continued to hold on to this 12-game stretch of time that he had in the 2022 season. That is like, that's the Lukas Reichel we know he can be. And it's just like, we've been holding on to that for 2 years now. And we haven't really seen it. So he didn't get into a game, the first 4 games of the season. And then he gets in, he's on the 4th line with Craig Smith and Pat Maroon, and everyone rolls their eyes and like, oh, that's doing him wonders. He's actually played really well with those 2 guys, surprisingly, and doing it at center, which I myself had questions of if he would be a center in the NHL. In the last game, he played with Connor Bedard and Teuvo Teravainen on the top line on the left wing spot. He's back to the 4th line now as they get ready to take on the Avs tonight. So I think having a consistent spot in the lineup is going to be helpful for him, and forcing him to again, play simple. Pat Maroon and Craig Smith, those are guys that can play simple games and kind of force you to play simple. And they also force Lucas Reichel to have the mentality of, it's like, I'm the guy that's going to have to drive this line offensively. So I think Luke Richardson's goal has been to, get him into that mentality of just like, I need to be the guy. And also I need to be the guy that's doing the simple things right. I need to take the lessons from my line mates like Craig Smith and Pat Maroon and Ryan Donato and the guys that, shuffle in through the fourth line for the Blackhawks, like take lessons from them on how to play a simpler game so that if I take care of the little details, then more of the game will open up and I can, use my skill to show that I can be a top 6 player.
There you go. Simple, straightforward. Hockey seems to be the path to success for most Central Division teams. Mario, thank you for coming on. If you're not following the CHGO Blackhawk guys, make sure you go do that. If you want to tell them all your socials, go ahead.
We are at CHGO_Blackhawks. Don't get the last 2 letters of CHGO and CSN confused.
Yeah, can you get the games on TV already? Come on.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying our hardest. At CHGO_Blackhawks. I myself am at Mario_Terabasi. Greg is at Greg Boyson, and Jay is at Jay Zawoski. We're really simple to find on social media.
Not difficult. Thank you again. Appreciate it, and hope you guys have a good post game, but hopefully not as good as ours.
Okay, well, we'll try.
So, look, Chicago is a team that, from their own guys that follow them, are probably not ready yet. And they haven't started well. We see that. When you play a team like that, don't be the team that makes them feel better about themselves.
Oh, no. I mean, stomp on them.
Yep.
I mean, again, I'm an animal lover, but remember key number 1, like, beware of the wounded dog. Like, stomp on them. Stomp on that dog. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's all fun and games.
You get PETA called on us.
No. We love dogs, I'm saying. But figure of speech, like, get at them. I mean, don't give them any breather. And I think that's what they did last year. I go back, I said that earlier. They played so well, pretty much, right, against Chicago. And they never gave them a sniff. And then make them admire you. Make them, like, say, oh, my God, Nathan MacKinnon, you're so good. And Cale Makar, you are so awesome. And, you know what I mean? Like, kind of fall in love. You watch, because you do. You're sitting on the bench. You see those world-class players. You're like, man, oh, man, this is something to watch. And then make them feel that way tonight and make them forget about their game, and then all of a sudden you're on top of it and you never look back.
Funny you should mention Cale Makar and you're wearing that shirt, because if we go to my bets, my first bet is a Cale Makar anytime goal tonight. So plus 300 for Cale Makar to score one. I also want to see this game go well from the jump. When you're playing a back-to-back, it's so much easier when you play from ahead. So I have the highest scoring period being the first period. I expect the legs to fall off a little bit for both teams in this game. And then I took the Avs to win the first 10 minutes, put themselves in the driver's seat, and make their lives a little bit easier, allow you to roll 4 lines a little bit more and get away with some stuff, maybe against a Chicago team that doesn't have that depth. So get in with Bet365 and my pregame picks. It's never ordinary with Bet365 and the DNVR 365 code. Sign up today with that and get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. And of course, when you do gamble with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. I don't know, E. I don't know if I'm expecting this to be all that of a high-scoring game, to be honest with you. But what's your vibe?
I'm going to hate what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it's going to be a little sloppy there on both sides. I think you're going to see a lot of goals tonight.
8-7?
8-7 good guys. Make it 7-6.
Can we make that like 3-2? I've had the review last night was a 20-minuter, all right, because of that third period. Make one a little bit easier for me.
Not gonna work.
I'll take an Avs win, however they can get 6 in a row, and you really start to feel good about this team. We are going to wrap up our pregame show here. We are presented by Coors Light. We appreciate all y'all watching along. If you really like us, like and subscribe, and come join us for the watch along, or at very least tune in postgame where we'll break down whatever happens for you. One way or another, we will talk to you very soon.
We all silly like the mayor.